We've engaged staff in the process through a number of methods. We've run a series of workshops on all campuses where we've invited any member of staff to come along and have a look at the portfolio and a trial of it. If they then want to book the Flourish team for a team training day, then they can do that, and we'll go along and actually help a team start to think about using an e-portfolio for their CPD. We've also piloted it with our own department and encouraged other departments to do that for specific activities such as appraisal. And in actual fact this year the Faculty of Education are now actively encouraging all faculty staff to use the e-portfolio to support the appraisal process. And we're doing a number of support sessions for the faculty to help them get going with that. Some of the other incentives have included a specific staff development opportunity, an e-learning retreat at a special location off campus where teams of staff can actually experiment with using the portfolio and support one another, and at a 2-day event, and these have been quite effective. In addition to that, we've also given some small amounts of funding to people who want to use the portfolio for areas away from the 5 key areas that are outlined by Flourish. So for instance, quite a few people are interested in using the portfolio for to support their research activities, or as a method of communicating to support the peer observation process. And they've used this small amount of funding to then actually help them carry out these activities. And we've asked them to record all this in a blog within the system and use this as a way of reporting back to the project manager, myself. So we're sort of gathering evidence at the same time as to how effective this has been.
One of the things we tried to do is to engage staff is to advertise it, and that's through various committees, through various sessions and workshops that we've run, and by advertising on our internal website. In terms of where we've got qualifications using it for CPD, it's been the tutors that have recommended to staff that they use the e-portfolio system to help them with the development and for their accreditation. So that's particularly the MVQ kind of stuff. Otherwise it's really sort of working with individuals who have an interest or find out about it and want to learn more. And we can do it on a one-to-one or training sessions.
Staff have found out about the e-portfolio in a number of ways. The first one, that the CAP has organised a number of workshops, summer schools, raising awareness events. And usually what we would do, we would focus on a key element of the e-portfolio. So we introduce the e-portfolio as this big system, and then we'll say, well, if you're interested in moving the paper-based portfolio online, here's the webfolio. If you're interested in encouraging your students to reflect, here's the blog. If you want your students to think more about action planning, here's some stuff about PDP, and here's the action planning tool. So that they can focus on specific areas, but they've also got an overview of what e-portfolios are, and particularly how they're related to PDP. But you can't, it's difficult, I can't just say to them PDP, because they're just going to get excited about that. But if I talk to them about, look, here's a really nice tool, your students are going to be interested in this, and this is how we can do it, and this is how you can mark it online. Oh, and there's PDP here, because I'll sneak it in. So they learn about it by that. We also get other members of staff to talk about how they're using it, which is always more effective than me, because staff would always listen to staff. So, and we also get externals in as well who've used e-portfolios. We've had Shane Sullivan here numerous times. And we have user groups as well, so I've got some key early adopters. They all come to our user group meetings too. For students, we usually go in and help the staff at the beginning so that the staff can introduce it to the students. But we also introduce it to our PhD students to support PDP. So it's a slightly different way that they get to know about it. And then for admin staff, what I've done is I've run a number of sessions about how you can use the portfolio for your PDP.
In terms of involving staff in the process and utilising it for their CPD, it's been very straightforward for me actually. I've been quite lucky in that I'm kind of the pedal pad lead within our faculty, and because our course team do a lot of distance learning anyway, there's a natural inclination towards this kind of approach to documenting and evidencing learning using the portfolio. So essentially all I really had to do was show them some examples of how we might do it and ask if they wanted to participate, and they were very keen to get involved from that point of view. I also think the other thing that's involved staff more in the process and driven them to get involved was the fact that the levels of student activity in terms of using the portfolio and actually seeing the kinds of things that they produce and the quality of the portfolios that they've submitted has actually been a bit of a driver as well. It's almost embarrassing the staff to come up with something that's as good as what the students are doing.
In order to engage staff in the process of using the portfolio, we hope to expose them to it at induction as early on as possible in their time at the university. Try and create clear links between career planning, promotional opportunities for them to record the CPD. Also link it to current policies and procedures, so for example having a policy in place whereby they have to annually update their CVs, where they have to share attendance at conferences and events, and to tie it in with a formula approach for funding for staff development activities, whereby perhaps if staff don't come back, reflect and sort of feedback on their CPD activity, then perhaps the department or faculty isn't awarded as much money the following year for staff development budget.